Welcome, homeowners of Northern Virginia. If you're in Fairfax, Loudoun, Arlington, or Prince William counties, sooner or later, you're going to need some HVAC or electrical work done. And, well, let's be honest, sometimes that little voice pops up wondering, am I about to get taken for a ride here?
That's a totally valid concern. I mean, when it comes to these really essential home systems, you're placing a lot of trust in the people you hire.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, as we've seen from, local experiences, that trust isn't always rewarded.
Right. So today we're diving into some of those, let's say, questionable tactics you might run into with HVAC and electrical services right here in our area.
Yeah.
Our guide for this is Peter, the owner of PRO Electric Plus HVAC. He's seen a lot, he's heard the stories, but he's also been the second opinion called in when things just didn't seem right.
And his perspective is great because he's right here, boots on the ground in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
He's sharing, real situations, real advice based on years helping folks just like you.
So our goal today, pretty simple really. We want to give you the tools to spot potential scams, know the right questions to ask, and maybe most importantly, know when to say, hang on, I need a second opinion.
Think of it as your insider info. Keep your money safe. Keep your home safe from, let's just say, less than stellar contractors.
We're going to talk about things like diagnosing problems that aren't even there or charging way too much for simple stuff.
Right, or pushing huge new systems when maybe just a fix would do. And those electrical panel scare tactics. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and even skipping permits, which is, kind of dangerous.
Definitely dangerous.
But we'll break it down, keep it clear, easy to follow. Maybe even have a little chuckle because home repairs are stressful enough, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, the classic unnecessary repair, or maybe the phantom problem.
Yeah, this is a common starting point for some operators. They kind of play on your anxiety, Your AC goes out on a hot day, you're worried. They might use confusing jargon, make things sound super urgent, even if it's minor. Peter's seen lots of cases where homeowners were told, 3 major parts failed all at once.
Which is pretty unlikely.
Generally, yeah. Especially if your system's been maintained. It's like your car needing a new engine, transmission, and brakes all on the same day. Possible? Maybe. Likely? Not really.
Peter gives examples like just vague stuff. Oh, the compressor and fan motor are shot. Or the whole electrical panel. It's fried. Based on what? Sometimes nothing solid.
Yeah, that lack of proof is a huge red flag. A good tech should be able to show you the reading, show you the burnt wire, point to the crack.
Right.
If they're just hand-waving and saying, it's bad, you should be skeptical, ask them to show you, explain it clearly.
And it's not just making stuff up. Peter also mentions the age thing. Oh, this water heater is 12 years old. Better replace it now before it's flooded your basement.
Right. Even if it's working perfectly fine. Look, older equipment might be less efficient. It will eventually fail, but age alone isn't a reason to scrap it immediately if it's doing its job.
So it's often just a way to sell a bigger job.
It can be, yeah. Replacing a whole system is obviously more profitable than a simple repair.
So what can you do? Peter's advice is pretty direct. Ask for proof. Just say, show me.
Yep. Show me the cracked heat exchanger. Show me the reading on your meter. Point out the bad connection.
Make them get specific. It's harder to bluff when you ask for details. And don't feel rushed if they suddenly give you this laundry list of problems.
Absolutely. That's your cue to use those magic words. I think I'd like to get a second opinion.
And Peter stresses this.
Yeah.
Any good, reputable company will be totally fine with that. They'll respect it.
If they push back hard or try to pressure you, that's another red flag right there. A second opinion might save you hundreds, maybe thousands. And even if the first diagnosis was right, you get peace of mind. It's a win-win for you.
Totally worth it. Okay, let's shift gears. What about sticker shock? Getting a bill for a basic repair that just feels way off.
Oh, yeah. This happens. Inflated part costs, weird fees showing up out of nowhere. Peter shared a really good example.
And was it?
An electrician quoted $330 just for the install of an AFCI breaker. Now, these breakers, they help prevent fires. They're important. But the part itself usually costs around, $50?
$50 for the part and almost $300 for the install. For one breaker. Wow, that seems excessive.
It's hard to justify, right? And it's not just parts. Watch out for double charging on labor or vague fees tacked on, like an environmental disposal fee when nothing was disposed of, or admin fees that weren't mentioned up front.
Sneaky. So how do you avoid that trap?
Number one, absolutely crucial. Get a detailed written estimate before they start the actual work beyond just the basic service call fee.
So it needs to break down the big costs. Parts, labor.
Exactly. It gives you clarity, gives them accountability if they're hesitant to put it in writing. Warning sign.
Makes sense. And then, when the final bill comes.
Read it carefully. Compare it to that estimate. If there are charges you don't recognize or that weren't discussed, ask. Demand an explanation.
And Peter suggests maybe doing a little homework beforehand. Like get a general idea of repair costs.
Yeah, just a quick search online. You don't need to be an expert, but if you know a capacitor is usually under $100 and someone quotes you $500, well, that tells you something.
Right. It helps you spot the outliers.
And be careful with those super, super low service call fees, like $29 service call.
The too good to be true offer.
Exactly. Sometimes that's just bait. They get in the door cheap, then suddenly find a bunch of expensive problems to make their money back. It's a common tactic.
The old bait and switch. Get you in cheap, then hit you hard.
Right. Good companies have costs, trucks, insurance, training. If the price seems impossibly low, they might be planning to make it up somewhere else, usually on your bill.
Okay, now for the big one, the really expensive one. Getting pressured into replacing your entire HVAC system when maybe, just maybe, a repair would have worked.
Yeah, this is a huge financial hit for homeowners. The tactic is convincing you the whole system, AC, furnace, whatever, is toast and needs replacing, often at a really inflated price.
Peter mentioned this seems more common with some of the bigger companies, where techs might be on commission.
He did notice that, yeah. Not always, of course, but if a technician's pay depends heavily on sales, they might be, let's say, motivated to sell you a new unit instead of finding a repair.
So they might come out, barely look at the thing, and just say, yep, got to replace it.
It happens. Look, sometimes replacement is the right call. Old system, super inefficient, major part failure. But a good pro diagnoses thoroughly first. They check if a repair is a sensible option.
Peter had that crazy example from Fairfax, right? A $25,000 quote for a new system.
Yeah.
25 grand. Luckily, the homeowner got a second opinion. Peter's company did a comparable system for, well, significantly less. That's a massive difference. Really shows why you need multiple quotes.
Absolutely critical for big jobs. And Peter points out some warning signs that you're dealing with more of a salesperson than a technician.
Like what?
Like jumping straight to replacement without really checking things out. Your AC's not cooling. They glance at the outside unit. Whole thing's got to go. That's suspicious.
Okay, what else?
Using scare tactics. Big time. Oh, that heat exchanger is cracked. Carbon monoxide. You need a new furnace now. Or bending the truth about older refrigerants like R22.
Is R22 illegal now?
No. Production is phased out, but it's still perfectly legal to service existing R22 systems. Saying otherwise is just dishonest. And yes, a cracked heat exchanger is serious, but a good tech shows you the crack, explains the risk, maybe even suggests you get it confirmed because replacement is expensive. They don't just use fear.
Got it. Peter also mentioned vague quotes, right? Just a lump
Yeah,
sum.
a quote for $15,000 with no breakdown. What are you paying for? The unit. Labor. Permits. Good quotes are itemized. Transparent.
And watch out for high-pressure sales, right? Sign today for 10% off.
Big red flag. Reputable companies give you a written quote that's good for a reasonable time. They let you think about it, compare offers, no pressure.
So the advice is clear. Get multiple quotes, at least 3 for a big system replacement.
Definitely. And don't just look at the price. Compare the equipment specs, the efficiency ratings, the warranties, are permits included.
Don't just jump at the cheapest one.
Right. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples and ask why they recommend replacement. If it's just, it's old, ask for a repair quote too. See how it compares. You might be surprised.
Good point. And one last thing on new systems, the bigger is better idea.
Oh yeah, be careful with that. Peter warns against techs pushing an oversized system just because it costs more.
Does size matter that much?
Hugely. Too big is actually bad. It cycles on and off constantly, doesn't control humidity well, wastes energy, wears out faster.
Oh. So how do they know the right size?
A proper load calculation. They measure your house, check insulation, windows, things like that. It's a calculation, not a guess. If someone just says you need the 5-ton unit without measuring anything, be wary.
Okay, good to know. Let's switch over to electrical panels, another area where homeowners might feel a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, because electrical issues sound scary, right?
Yeah.
Fire risk. And some less than honest folks prey on that fear. Peter sees 2 main scare tactics here.
Which are?
One is the whole aluminum panel myth. The other is claiming burn marks or overheating without real proof.
Okay, the aluminum thing, what's the deal? Is aluminum bad?
Well, there were issues back in the 70s with certain types of small aluminum wiring and how it was connected, but aluminum bus bars inside a modern panel, that's common. It's standard manufacturing. It's not inherently dangerous like some try to make it sound.
See, just hearing aluminum doesn't mean your panel is a ticking time bomb.
Not at all. Peter quoted one experienced electrician calling that excuse balderdash when applied to modern panels. It's often just used to scare you into a pricey upgrade.
Okay. And the other tactic, burn marks.
Right. They point to maybe some normal oxidation, that greenish stuff on copper or whitish powder on aluminum and call it burning or arsing.
That's just normal aging sometimes.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Peter even mentioned an installer joking that oxidized is the new scare word. Real burning looks different. Charring, melted plastic, maybe a smell. Normal discoloration isn't usually an emergency.
So if a tech says, I see burn marks, what should you ask?
Ask them to be specific. Is it actually charred or melted or just discolored? And crucially, what caused it? Maybe it's just a loose wire that needs tightening or one bad breaker. Not necessarily the whole panel.
So don't jump straight to replacement.
Exactly. If they can't explain the cause and just say, replace the panel, get suspicious. And definitely, like with HVAC, get a second opinion from another licensed electrician if you're unsure.
Especially if the diagnosis sounds really alarming.
That second look is so valuable.
Yeah.
Now, are there legit reasons to replace a panel? Sure. Old brands like Federal, Pacific, or Zinsco have known issues. Or if your panel is just too small for your electrical needs, those are valid reasons.
Right, those are real safety concerns.
But don't let someone turn normal tarnish into a $5,000 panic replacement. Verify the issue.
Okay, last big topic, and this one's purely about safety, not just money. Skipping permits and cutting corners.
Yeah, this is really serious. Most significant electrical or HVAC work legally requires permits and inspections from your county here in Northern Virginia.
Why do some contractors try to skip that?
To save time, save money on fees, or maybe because they aren't properly licensed and can't pull permits legally. That's a huge red flag.
So if a contractor says, oh, we can do it cheaper, faster without a permit.
Peter's advice, run the other way. Seriously. They're asking you to break the law, and they're almost certainly cutting corners on the job itself.
Because the permits and inspections are there for a reason.
Right. Exactly. They protect you. They make sure the work meets safety codes. If they skip permits, who knows what else they're skipping.
Peter gave that example about the fireman disconnect switch.
Right. The outdoor emergency disconnect. It's required by code now for new panel installs in our area. It lets firefighters quickly kill power in an emergency. If they skip the permit, they probably skip installing that vital safety feature too.
And same idea for HVAC. Codes for wiring, refrigerant, ducts.
Yep. Skipping permits can hide undersized wires, bad connections, missing safety devices like smoke or CO detectors. It's just unsafe.
And Peter mentioned insurance issues too, and problems selling your house later.
Absolutely. Unpermitted work can void insurance claims. It can definitely complicate a home sale when inspectors find it. Big headaches down the road.
So how do you make sure this doesn't happen?
Ask upfront. Will you be pulling permits for this job? Will it be inspected? The answer for anything major should be a clear yes. If they hesitate or say no, find someone else.
Maybe even double check with the county if you're unsure.
Good idea. And always, always verify their license and insurance before work starts. An unlicensed contractor can't legally pull permits anyway.
A little homework up front saves big trouble later.
For sure. And keep an eye out after the job. See that outdoor disconnect? Is there a disconnect box near the AC? An overflow switch on the drain line? These things aren't optional extras. They're often code requirements for safety.
Okay, that's a lot of great specific advice. Before we wrap up, maybe just a quick recap of general pro tips for homeowners, things Peter really emphasizes.
Yeah, definitely. First, get it in writing. Always. Detailed estimate, scope of work, costs, no surprises.
Number 2, ask questions. Don't be shy. Ask why. Ask what does that mean. Get explanations in plain English. If they get annoyed or try to confuse you with jargon, that's not a good sign.
3, insist on proof. If they say something major is broken, ask to see it. No proof, maybe no problem.
4, watch for pressure. High pressure sales, sign now deals, those are red flags. Good pros give you time.
5, know when to get that second opinion. Big ticket repairs, anything that feels suspicious, get another qualified look. It's smart.
6, check their reputation. Look at reviews online. Be wary of companies known for aggressive sales over good service.
7, verify licenses and permits, non-negotiable for safety and legality.
8, be careful with payments. Paying everything up front before work is done. Risky. A reasonable deposit and final payment on completion is standard.
And maybe the most important one, trust your gut. If something feels off, if you don't feel comfortable with the person or the diagnosis, listen to that feeling. It's your home.
Perfect. So that really covers it. A deep dive into some of the less reputable practices you might encounter based on Peter's real-world experience right here in Northern Virginia.
And the main takeaway really is empowerment. You're not helpless. Being informed, asking questions, getting second opinions, and to laugh at these things protect you, protect your home, protect your wallet.
Your home safety, your money, it's just too important to leave to chance or to someone you don't fully trust.
Absolutely. And by being vigilant, by asking those questions, you're not just protecting yourself, you're actually helping to raise the bar for everyone in the home service industry around here.